Welcome back to House TV Live. I'm Rick Spence, and with me today is Amy Elbaum out of Sherman Oaks, California with AE Design. She's been on House many years, has lots of followers, and she's going to share her beautiful home. She recently remodeled the kitchen and the main living space. Great to have you here, Amy. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to share it with you guys.
So tell me about this home.
So this was a pretty traditional ranch style 60s home. Had not been updated in a while. It had a lot of partitions between the spaces, laminate wood flooring, and a pretty ancient kitchen that really needed to be gutted. Most of the appliances didn't even work anymore.
So what were the big things you had to do? It sounds like you had to take that peninsula out with the cabinets that were overhanging in the kitchen. What did you have to do structurally to make this work?
Yeah, so there was actually a post in that half wall there that was structurally supportive. It was fairly simple. It was just a simple replacement of a beam for a post. And then we were able to open up the space as we wanted to.
Let's start in the living area and how you sort of flipped the space and did the built-ins.
Yeah, they originally had the TV on the half wall in the kitchen. So you'd be sitting facing the kitchen if you were watching TV. But once we removed that wall, we had to change the direction of the seating. So the back of the sofa now is closer to the kitchen island. And, we moved in and we started with a big blank wall there. I have 2 small kids and I knew that we would need tons of storage. So I thought, why not build this whole thing out? We'll put oversized drawers and cabinet doors to fit, large toys that are sometimes hard to put away. And at the same time, build out some shelving for display. I have a lot of design books that I've accumulated over the years, antique display pieces. So I really wanted a place to showcase all of that. And I also knew we'd be spending a lot of time in there. So it needed to be a practical space for my family.
Those drawers look nice and beefy too, like they can handle the abuse from the kids.
Yes, they've stood up so far to the abuse.
Tell me about the handles too. So the handles are sort of like a recessed handle. Was that more of a design choice or a function choice for you for the kids?
For me, it was a design choice. We have some bolder brass holes in the kitchen, which is so close to it. I really didn't want to compete with those. So I wanted something a little bit cleaner on that side.
Now, in terms of seating, tell me what your strategy was there. So you've got like the nice sofa, the 2 chairs. Was it more of like a conversation space and TV comes second? Or tell me how you use the space primarily.
I usually like to do a sectional for families that are gathering around a TV, but it's sort of a narrow space. So I felt like one long sofa with a couple chairs would be a better use of the space. And, we have a separate room where we really cuddle together and watch a movie. This is more like the everyday while we're eating or cooking and everyone's sitting around and, we'll have guests over and they can sit wherever they want. So it's sort of a more casual seating area that's multifunctional.
What's the countertop about in your built-ins? Is that also wood or is that a stone of some sort?
It's a wood. It's a black cerused wood. So that's a technique you use to stain wood, and the grain of the oak shows through white. I knew I wanted to bring in some black, but I didn't want to add in more stone, of course, again, because it's so close to the kitchen. So it's just sort of a contrasting top.
In terms of your floor covering, you swapped the floors out in the space as well.
Yes, there was actually laminate over tile. So we demoed all of it and put in engineered white oak floors. They also helped brighten the space. The floors were really dark before, so that helped a lot. That rug, we've been through a couple versions since we moved in here. It's definitely a high traffic area, especially in the summer. The sliding doors in the family room are the direct route to the pool. So we have a lot of wet feet coming through, dirty, wet dog feet. So we definitely had to go with something that was more in like the brown tones to not show as much dirt. And so now we've landed on this sort of like jute wool, like a brown rug, but I like that it has the black in it that sort of ties into the rest of the house. So it was definitely about durability and what would show the least amount of stains in that room. So far, no issues.
That's good. So it's a home you can live in.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's hop into the kitchen and tell me about what you wanted in a kitchen.
Yeah, so I wanted a big island, which I went as big as I possibly could without impeding into the family room space. And I wanted a really good flow between the sink, the refrigerator, and the stove. And I wanted to make sure there was plenty of space between the island and the perimeter cabinets, so we're not bumping into each other while we're moving around the kitchen.
And are you using the island for storage as well? I see sort of the cabinetry there. You can put some more storage in there. So you're not really sitting at the island a lot. You might stand around it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we didn't do seating because we wanted to put the sofa there for the TV, but we did add some shallower cabinets to that side. It's a little cramped over there, but if we need extra storage, we have it.
And your countertops, is that like a Corian or something? Tell me about the countertops.
They're both quartz. One is a white Caesar stone, and the island is a quartz Calcutta marble type look. Super clean. You know, I definitely wanted quartz. Marble was just not an option for my family. I'm thankful every day that I did that. I would say the vintage runner in the kitchen is also something I'm glad I did. I didn't think that it would feel so cold without anything on the floor, but we're in here so much barefoot that it felt like it needed something. And again, I have kids and a dog and a husband, and things get messy. We've had so many spills on that rug. You really wouldn't know. I think a vintage rug is the absolute best way to go in the kitchen.
Which looks great. And you talked about the poles being pretty substantial. So
Yeah.
tell me about your poles and your decision there.
I gravitate towards poles over knobs most of the time. I think they're more modern. I really wanted to do all the same size poles, regardless of the drawer sizes, because I just liked them so much and I wanted them to pop. And I'm really happy with that decision. We did do knobs on the other side of the island where the sofa is, just because I felt like that was too much over there with the furniture. So there we did knobs, but everywhere else is the same sort of oversized pole.
7, 8 inches? What are those?
I think they're 8-inch poles, yeah.
Yeah, they're really nice. I love the color too. It's like, what is the paint color in there?
The paint color is Mindful Gray by Sherwin-Williams. It's a very warm sort of greige, I would say, like a gray beige. It has a little bit of a green undertone. I didn't want anything too cool, and I didn't want white. I really wanted something that felt more classic than that. I knew that was going to be the color from the beginning.
Really nice color. I love that color. And then your herringbone backsplash. Tell me about your backsplash.
Yeah, I wanted something that was still kept with like the all white countertops, but added a little bit of definition, a modern touch. I really liked the scale of this herringbone. It was not too big. It was not too small. I love the sheen of it. It has a polished finish. The wall around the pantry door, we ended up tiling to the ceiling. And I'm really glad we did. I think it ties the two walls together, and it's a really beautiful feature.
I've seen that in a couple spaces where there's less drywall in the kitchen or a bathroom, just more tile.
Yeah, I think it made a big change. I think the drywall would have left it a little bit sad, and the tile definitely, it's just a little bit of tile, and it really made a huge difference.
This was a smaller space, but you had beautiful appointments throughout. And because it was a little bit smaller, you can go with, okay, let's do that. Let's bring the tile all the way up around the pantry door.
Exactly. I do believe in smaller spaces to sort of go bigger. You know, it's not something you should be afraid of. It can really, you know, give the space more personality than it would if you left more of it just plain.
Now, in a lot of kitchens, we're seeing this balance of open shelving, cabinets, glass. You went with sort of a symmetrical glass above the stove. Tell me about your choice with glass and why you used what you use and where you put it.
So I did want some glass to display a few pieces we have. I was very hesitant about open shelving just because of the dust. I think open shelving is beautiful. For me, it's not as practical. And I wanted there to still be some feeling of openness and not so many upper cabinets in a row. So I felt like it was a good mix of both.
So tell me about your lighting in the kitchen.
We have the recessed lights, the pendants over the island, and the under cabinet lighting. You know, the recessed are on most of the day. We use the pendants a lot on a dimmer, like an evening, like a night light in case someone goes into the kitchen. And the under cabinet lighting too. You know, it's not as bold as having the can lights on, but it does light up the space.
So let's step over to your little nook, your little breakfast nook or dining nook, or it looks like you get, 4 or 5 people around that table. You put a little window seat in there. Tell me about that.
Yeah. I mean, we can sit 4 kids on that bench. My kids sit on the bench 100% of the time. I actually thought I was going to be sitting on the bench. So I've only sat on it a couple of times. They've sort of taken it over, but they love it. They climb right up there. It's really cozy. The bay window was already built in. I was like, so pleased to have that already there. They just weren't utilizing it. So we just built a bench right in there. The classic toilet table fit really well. It seats a lot of people.
What about your art? Little piece of artwork there?
I've collected art over the years. We moved in, we finished construction. We had nothing on the walls except a couple things. And I just saw that print and it made me feel like we're always trying to keep things light and we have a lot of laughs around this table. So it felt like a really fitting piece for the space.
What I love about this home is it's very relatable. I think a lot of people have a home similar to this where it's like, okay, they've got the kitchen space. Maybe it's not quite working for them. They've got a living space. Maybe it's not quite working. You didn't do anything crazy.
Yeah, I think it's about prioritizing what you want to feel open. For me, it was the kitchen, eating area, and family room. And then, we have a dining room that's not as close, but for me, that was okay. I was okay with having a dining room, a formal dining area a little further away from the kitchen and just having like a smaller place for my family to eat on a daily basis. So I think it's about prioritizing what you want on a daily basis to be accessible and what you're okay with sacrificing, to maybe be in another room or a different location. Because if you're not building your house from the ground up, you don't have that much say over the layout of the house usually. And it's definitely easier to remove 1 or 2 walls than 5, 6, 7 walls.
Well, thank you so much, Amy. Really appreciate you taking the time with us. Beautiful home. I think your family will get many, many years out of this home. And I can't wait to see more of your work.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.